Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode here on European Confessions. There is a message that I want to share with you guys, and this message, it reads like this. Hello, Brother Nashi, how are you? Can you please post my own story as hidden identity? My brother, I have a confession that I want to share with you, but please hide my identity. I am a young lady who is aged 28 years old. I am married, and me and my husband, we have 2 kids. I once had a challenge, this was few years back, whereby my husband started cheating on me. This thing, it happened all of a sudden. When I was not expecting my husband to cheat on me, he ended up cheating on me. My brother, at that time when he started cheating on me, whenever I would catch him cheating, he will become very harsh and violent towards me. He started not buying food, and this I heard that he was taking care of this other lady. And when I confronted him, he said that, so you think that I am joking? Well, I am going to show you heaven on earth. So he said that he was going to show me paradise. So I thought that maybe he was going to stop his cheating ways, but this was not heaven on earth, but this was hell on earth. He stopped buying food in the house, not paying bills, and to make me feel jealous or to make me like to hurt me, what he would do is that he would bring some receipts of the things that he would have bought for his side chick, as well as for the things that he would buy for his side chick's kids. At the same time, he never wanted to be close to me. He never wanted to make love to me. He could even go for a week without touching me. He would touch me, and after sleeping with me, he would say that he only does it because he feels so sorry for me. My husband could leave me and the kids hungry, and he could even go for a week without ever returning back home. And this was really painful for me to watch my kids starve. At first, I tried talking to some of the members of his family, but all that they could do was to help me with food, and the food that they would give me, it could only last for a day. The next day, me and my kids, we would be starving. So I ended up going to my mom, and I was now staying with my mom. My mom could not chase me away because I was her own daughter, but this was a heavy burden that I had placed upon my mom's shoulders. And when I was at my mom, I was still facing those challenges in my marriage. My mom then ended up advising me to go and visit a herbalist so that he can give me some herbs so that I can cook for my husband, so that my husband can return back to me and we will be able to take care of our own kids. My mother told me that the same situation that I was facing, that was the same situation that she had faced at the time when my father was an alcoholic. My mom told me that my father was a womanizer. It was only after she had gone to see this other traditional healer who had given her a love potion that my own father returned back to his senses. And when I looked at my father, as cool as he was, I then said that it means that using a love potion on your husband, it is a good thing, because my father and my mom, they seemed to love each other. I didn't know that there were more rituals that were supposed to be done throughout my marriage with my husband. And if my husband was someone that was not going to be able to accept these rituals like in his spirit, then something bad was going to happen. Brother Nashi, anyway, my mother took me to that herbalist. When we went there, we got to the herbalist's house. The herbalist asked me to get inside one of these thatched houses. It was just an old mud house. When I got inside, then I left my side, my mom on the outside. The herbalist, he was a male herbalist. He then walked in behind me and he instructed me that I was supposed to take all of my clothes, and he said that I was supposed to be intimate with him. Mind you, this was like the first time ever making love to another man that was not my husband. I tried to refuse and I said, I cannot cheat on my husband. He said that he was not a human being, since he had the ancestors that were upon his body. This meant that I will be sleeping with a spirit. So I was not, like, in practical terms, I was not cheating on my husband, because I will be sleeping with a spirit. So this spirit, he had to use him so that it can enter into my body. Once it had entered into my body, then the charms will start working. I tried to refuse, but my brother, I just said it is fine. He reminded me of the situation that I was facing. He said that this was a critical situation that wanted someone to be brave. I had to be brave only once for my children. So I agreed to be brave. I took off all of my clothes and I agreed to sleep with him. I then slept with that herbalist, Brother Nashi. After sleeping with this herbalist, I was told that I was not supposed to wash myself. I was not even supposed to wash my whole body. I had to travel back to my husband, and once I had slept with my husband, then everything was going to work out. He gave me more charms. He said that these charms, what I want you to do is that by the time that you get home, I want you to cook a nice meal for your husband. And as you are cooking, never think about the things that he did. Never think about the time that he used to beat you. Only think about the times when you used to love him and when he used to love you, so that these charms can start working. I returned back home, my brother. Along the way, he had said that I was not supposed to greet anyone, neither was I supposed to shake anyone's head. Hence, I then returned back home, straight to the place where I used to stay with my husband. Fortunate enough, when I got there, my husband was there. He was surprised to see me. I went straight indoors because I was afraid that some of my neighbors, they were going to come out so as to greet me. When I walked in, I then sat down and he then started speaking with me, and I said, I want to cook for you, my husband. I am sorry for ever running away from you. I love you, my husband. He was surprised because he was the one who had kicked me out of the house. I then said, can you please go and buy some meat? Beef will be okay, so that I can prepare a nice meal for you. I know that you love it, dipped in fat and roasted nicely. This is what I told him. He then said, it is fine, my wife, let me go and buy something so that you can prepare a nice meal for me. He then went to the shops and he bought the beef. When he had gone out, quickly I looked for a scissors and I started cutting my nails, just like the traditional healer had taught me to do. After cutting off my nails on my fingers, both on my hands as well as my legs, I chopped them up with the vegetables such that when we will be eating, they were not going to choke him up. After that, I went on the bed, I removed my clothes and I started cutting off my private hair. You know, like if you are a woman, if you spend about 3 days without bathing, the moment that you open your legs, there is a smell that is going to come out there that is not nice. That is what I smelled at that time. Anyway, my brother, I then knew what I had to do. I just closed my nose and I tried cutting as much hair as I could because the smell was just too much for me. After cutting some of my private hair, I then took my private hair and I started mixing it with the vegetables. This is what I was supposed to do. Before my husband had returned, I was cooking soft porridge, and that healer had told me that I had to place the pot between my legs, and so that the steam can get into my private parts. Then once it would have entered into my private parts, then my private parts will start to sweat, so that the sweat will fall into that pot that would have the food that I will be cooking. I removed the pot from the stove and I placed it on the floor just for a few minutes. I stood, my brother. It was really painful, but I reminded myself of the pain of losing my husband to his side chick. It was more painful than the pain that I was feeling with that hot steam as it was entering into my private parts. I stood strong, my brother, until I had finished performing this ritual. After I was done with that, as I was cooking the vegetables, I took the nails that I had cut into several pieces, as well as the private hair that I had cut from my private area. I took that pubic hair and I mixed it with the vegetables. I started cooking as I was singing some love songs that my husband used to sing for me by the time that he started dating me when I was still young. My brother, when my husband returned, I gave him a teaspoon that was full of vegetables that contained the love potions. And my husband, when he sat on the bed, he just said that there is something that is happening to me. There is something that is happening to me. He said that he was feeling very dizzy. But anyway, I kept on feeding him. After I had finished cooking, I dished out for him and he ate everything that I had dished out for him. My brother, what started happening to my husband is that he always wanted to be with me. Like whenever I went to go outside, he would always be by my side, and he started treating me like a queen. The first few days, this was like really great, but with time, now I have realized that what is happening is that my husband, it is like instead of him being mature, his brain is now being like that of a young child. Whenever I am with him, there are some things that he does whereby you just expect those things to be done by a 3-year-old. I then told my mom this thing, so we returned back to the traditional healer after my husband had closed his eyes when he had returned from work. So he found me, I was just naked sleeping on the bed. So he was like, why are you not wearing your clothes? Just like what a child does when a child sees a grown up being naked. He closed his eyes and he ran out of our bedroom. Later on, after I had worn something, I called him and I sat with him down and I was like, why did you close your eyes? Why did you run away from the bedroom? He was like, I am ashamed of you. I am ashamed to see you being naked. That was when I knew that something was wrong. Even the way that he was treating me, it was like too much. This was not what I wanted. I wanted something that was just in between so that people won't even notice. Sometimes you would even wake up and they would start sweeping the compound, because at the place that we were staying at that time, as like the tenants of that house, we had the duties like today I sweep, then the next morning someone else will sweep. So my husband, when it was my duty to sweep, to clean the toilet, to do everything, to wash the sink, my husband will do everything before he would have gone to work. So people started talking. When people started talking, I then moved out. This was before I had gone to talk with my mom about this issue. Finally, I had had enough. I then returned back home and I spoke with my mom about this issue. And that traditional healer said that the thing that is happening to my husband is that his spirit is fighting with the charms that I gave him. So the spirit is trying to make him to do things that people will end up seeing that he is someone that has been given a love potion, so that people can rescue him and he can be made to vomit those charms. The traditional healer then said that I want to give you another charm so that you can feed his closest relatives, so that when people will start talking and when people will point fingers at you, when they will say that you gave your husband a love charm, then your husband's relative will fight in your corner. So this is what I did. I went to my husband's village, and as a daughter-in-law, as per our custom, they expected me to cook. I did that same ritual. I cut off my nails and I cut off my pubic hair. This was when I had traveled from the city, spending a couple of days without bathing. When I arrived in the village, I was really smelly, and the smell that comes out of my pubic hair, that is what the traditional healer told me that is the most important thing on the charm. So I did those rituals. I cooked for everyone. Most of his relatives were there, right? They, when I cooked for them, and when everyone ate after dishing for them, I saw that they were now more like my husband. The way that they treat me, it is like I am the boss. Whenever I am at my in-laws' house, they listen to me. In our culture, as a daughter-in-law, when your father-in-law, you are not allowed to wear a skirt without putting an African wrap skirt on top. But as for me, my brother, my mother-in-law, she said that these are modern times, my daughter-in-law. Don't even worry. You can wear any clothes that you want. The last time when I was in my husband's village, I went there and I was wearing a trousers, and my father-in-law, he was there. No one even complained. The way that I am controlling this family, I am scared, my brother, that this thing, they are going to lead me into doing some things that I do not even want. Right now, I had to shift places because people, wherever I go, they notice that my husband is no longer normal. My husband, he used to be someone that was social. He used to socialize with a lot of people. He was an outgoing person. But now he is always with me. Wherever I go, my husband is with me. It seems to be nice to someone that doesn't know what I am going through. But if it happens to you, you'll never like it. Like when I go to this thing that we call China, whereby we go up and we meet as ladies in our church, my husband will be walking around close to that house where we will be holding our weekly women's meeting, and I do not like it at all. It's not a nice thing for people to be talking behind your back as when they will be saying that you charmed your husband with a love potion. It is not a good thing. My mother said that I should relax because these charms, it will come a time whereby they would sort of like dissolve, and my husband, his actions, they won't be the same, but he will still love me, but he will be more like my father. My father is always at home just reading his novels when he is not in the fields busy farming. He is always close to my mother. So in this situation, I do not know what I should do. Should I just continue just like what my mother did, or should I just find someone who can help me so that my husband can vomit all of those charms that I gave him? But what about his relatives? Now I am scared. How can I gather up the whole clan, the whole tribe, and then I call a traditional healer so that the healer can make them to vomit? It is very scary. It is a scary thought for me.